Hello, philosophers. In this video, the detailed summary of this book is given chapter by chapter. But please support me with your like and subscription. Actually, this book is a practical guide to improving personal happiness, professional success, and relationships through timeless psychological principles. The book teaches that fulfillment comes not from external achievements alone, but from how we interact with others and manage our own mindset. Carnegie combines real-life examples, actionable advice, and profound insights to show readers how to reduce conflict, build stronger connections, and cultivate a positive attitude, whether at work, at home, or in social settings. This book is important because it addresses universal human struggles: stress, dissatisfaction at work, strained relationships, and self-doubt. Unlike vague self-help theories, Carnegie offers concrete techniques, like giving sincere appreciation, avoiding arguments, and living in the present, that anyone can apply immediately. His lessons are rooted in understanding human nature, making them as relevant today as when first published. For professionals, it's a roadmap to leadership without authority. For individuals, it's a toolkit for lasting contentment. Let's start it from the beginning. Chapter 1: Fundamental Techniques in Handling People. Dale Carnegie begins by emphasizing that human interactions are the cornerstone of both personal happiness and professional success. He argues that criticism, even when justified, often backfires because it wounds a person's pride and triggers defensiveness. Instead of pointing out faults, Carnegie suggests offering sincere appreciation, as people thrive on recognition and positivity. He shares psychological insights that people remember praise far longer than criticism, making it a more effective tool for influencing behavior. The chapter also explores the idea that selfishness is a fundamental human trait, but it can be redirected positively. When we show genuine interest in others and make them feel valued, they are more likely to reciprocate with cooperation and goodwill. Carnegie cites examples from history, like Abraham Lincoln, who mastered the art of patience and empathy, even with difficult people. This approach not only smooths conflicts, but also builds long-term loyalty. Another key lesson is the power of seeing situations from others' perspectives. Carnegie explains that misunderstandings often arise because we assume others think like us. By actively listening and asking questions, we uncover their motivations and can address their needs more effectively. This technique is especially useful in negotiations, sales, and leadership roles. The chapter concludes with a reminder that people crave a sense of importance. Whether it's a colleague, spouse, or stranger, acknowledging their contributions, no matter how small, strengthens relationships. Carnegie warns against flattery, which is insincere, and instead advocates for honest, specific compliments. For example, instead of saying, "You're great," say, "The way you handled that client complaint was impressive." Ultimately, this chapter lays the foundation for the book. Treat others with respect, avoid criticism, and foster appreciation to create a more enjoyable life and workplace. Chapter 2: 6 Ways to Make People Like You. Carnegie opens this chapter by stating that popularity and likability are skills, not luck. The first rule is to become genuinely interested in others. He contrasts this with fake charm, noting that people detect insincerity quickly. To build real connections, we must ask about others' lives, hobbies, and opinions, and actively listen. For instance, a manager who remembers an employee's child's name or a personal milestone earns deeper trust. The second rule is smiling, which Carnegie calls a simple tool with profound effects. He shares research showing that smiling not only makes others perceive us as friendly, but also triggers our own brain to feel happier. Even in stressful jobs, a smile can diffuse tension and make interactions smoother. A customer service representative, for example, can turn a frustrated client into a cooperative one just by maintaining a warm demeanor. Next, Carnegie stresses the importance of using names. He explains that a person's name is tied to their identity, so hearing it makes them feel recognized. Leaders who memorize names, from employees to clients, create an atmosphere of respect. The chapter includes techniques for remembering names, like repeating them during conversations or associating them with visual cues. The fourth rule is to be a good listener and encourage others to talk. Most people prefer discussing their own interests over hearing ours. Carnegie advises asking open-ended questions, What did you enjoy about that project? And avoiding interruptions. This is especially powerful in sales. Customers are more likely to buy when they feel heard rather than pressured. The final 2 rules focus on conversation skills, discussing what matters to the other person and making them feel important. Carnegie warns against dominating discussions with personal achievements. Instead, he suggests tailoring topics to the listener's passions. For example, a job interviewer who asks about the candidate's career goals, rather than boasting about the company, leaves a far better impression. This chapter's overarching message: likability stems from selflessness, putting others first in conversations and actions. Chapter 3: How to win people to your way of thinking. Here, Carnegie tackles persuasion without conflict. He begins with a bold claim: you can't win an argument. Even if you prove someone wrong, they'll resent you. Instead, he advises avoiding debates unless absolutely necessary. For example, if a coworker insists on a flawed idea, rather than saying, "That won't work," ask, "Could we test a small part of this first?" This invites collaboration over confrontation. The next principle is never saying you're wrong. Carnegie illustrates this with a story about Benjamin Franklin, who credited his success to avoiding direct contradictions. Instead of dismissing others, use phrases like, "I see it differently, but I might be mistaken." This humility disarms resistance and keeps conversations productive. Carnegie also introduces the yes and technique, though he doesn't call it that. By finding common ground before presenting disagreements, we prevent defensiveness. For instance, if a team member proposes an unrealistic deadline, respond with, "I agree we need to move quickly, and I'm concerned about quality if we rush. What if we adjust the timeline here?" Another powerful tool is letting others feel ownership of ideas. People support what they help create. A manager might say, "How would you solve this problem?" instead of dictating solutions. Carnegie shares examples from business where executives implemented changes more smoothly by letting employees believe the ideas originated with them. The chapter closes with the importance of empathy. Carnegie urges readers to ask, why would someone think or act this way? Understanding fears, desires, or past experiences helps frame persuasive arguments. For example, a parent convincing a child to study might say, "I know homework is boring, but imagine how proud you'll feel acing the test," instead of, "You have to do this." Chapter 4: How to change people without giving offense. Leadership isn't about authority, but about inspiring cooperation. Carnegie begins by emphasizing that people resist direct orders, but respond well to guidance framed as suggestions. For example, instead of saying, "Do this now," a leader might say, "What do you think about trying this approach?" This subtle shift makes the other person feel valued rather than controlled. The first technique Carnegie recommends is beginning with praise. Before addressing areas for improvement, acknowledge what the person does well. A manager might say, "Your reports are always thorough, and I'd love your help making the conclusions even clearer." This sandwich method, praise, criticism, praise, softens the blow of constructive feedback. Next, Carnegie advises highlighting mistakes indirectly. Instead of saying, "You messed up," share a personal story. "I used to make similar errors until someone showed me a trick." This reduces embarrassment and makes the person more open to learning. He cites Abraham Lincoln, who famously wrote critical letters, then never sent them, opting for face-to-face discussions with kindness. Another key strategy is asking questions instead of giving commands. "Could we meet the deadline if we adjusted this step?" invites problem solving, whereas "you must finish this today" breeds resentment. Carnegie also warns against undermining confidence. Saying, "This is easy, you should get it quickly," can demoralize someone struggling. Instead say, "This takes practice, let's work through it together." The chapter concludes with the power of making improvement seem attainable. Break tasks into smaller goals and celebrate progress. For instance, a teacher might say, "Your essay structure improved a lot. Next, let's focus on transitions." By focusing on incremental wins, leaders build confidence and motivation. Chapter 5: How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Carnegie shifts focus to internal happiness, starting with living in the present. Worry, he argues, stems from dwelling on the past or fearing the future. His day-tight compartments metaphor urges readers to focus only on today's tasks, like a ship's watertight doors that prevent sinking. For example, instead of agonizing over a yearly target, concentrate on daily progress. The next tool is the worst-case scenario exercise. Carnegie suggests writing down the worst possible outcome like, I'll get fired, accepting it mentally, then planning how to improve from there. This reduces fear's power. Often, the worst case isn't as bad as imagined. A salesperson afraid of rejection might realize, even if I lose this client, I'll find others. Carnegie also emphasizes staying busy as an antidote to anxiety. Idle time allows worries to fester, while purposeful action, whether work, hobbies, or exercise, distracts and energizes. He shares stories of people who overcame grief by immersing themselves in helping others, proving that activity displaces negative thoughts. Another technique is reframing small worries. Ask, will this matter in 5 years? Traffic jams or minor criticisms fade quickly, yet we let them ruin our day. Carnegie encourages keeping a worry diary to track which fears actually materialize. Most don't. Finally, he advises practicing gratitude. Listing 3 things you're thankful for each day shifts focus from problems to blessings. A nurse stressed by long shifts might reflect on having a job, healthy children, and a supportive friend. Gratitude, Carnegie argues, is the quickest path to contentment. Chapter 6. Cultivate a mental attitude that brings peace and happiness. Happiness is a choice, not luck. Carnegie opens with the idea that our thoughts shape our reality. 2 people in the same job, one resentful, the other enthusiastic, experience it differently. He cites Viktor Frankl's Holocaust survival as proof that attitude triumphs over circumstances. The first step is accepting the inevitable. Fighting unavoidable situations, like a rainy vacation, wastes energy. Instead, adapt. Since we can't hike, let's enjoy the cozy cabin. Carnegie shares how businesses thrived during the Great Depression by pivoting rather than complaining. Next, he warns against expecting gratitude. Helping others should come from kindness, not a desire for thanks. Resentment builds when we think, I did so much and no one noticed. Instead, find joy in the act itself, like a volunteer who tutors kids without expecting praise. Carnegie also advises not imitating others. Comparing ourselves to neighbors or colleagues breeds dissatisfaction. He tells of a businessman who envied a rival's mansion, until the rival died stressed and alone. Authentic happiness comes from living by your values, not societal benchmarks. The chapter ends with nurturing positivity daily. Replace negative self-talk, I'm terrible at this, with affirmations, I'm improving each time. Surround yourself with optimistic people, as emotions are contagious. A teacher who starts class with a joke, for instance, creates a happier learning environment. Chapter 7. The Big Secret of Dealing with People. The big secret is simple. Let others feel important, and do it sincerely. Carnegie explains that every interaction is an opportunity to validate someone's worth. A waiter treated rudely will provide mediocre service, but one thanked by name might go above and beyond. He illustrates this with a story about Charles Schwab, who credited his success to praising employees publicly. Even small gestures like remembering a receptionist's birthday build loyalty. Conversely, dismissing others kills motivation. The chapter also warns against self-centeredness. Dominating conversations with your achievements or problems alienates people. Instead ask, what's new with you, and listen intently. Carnegie cites a study where the most popular people spoke only 30% of the time in conversations. Finally, he stresses authenticity. Flattery feels manipulative, while specific praise feels genuine. When people sense real appreciation, they reciprocate with trust and effort. I hope you have enjoyed this book, but please support me with your like and subscription. Thank you.